K-Pop Demon Hunters is an extremely fun movie filled with incredible music. But did you know that the characters in the animation have very dark backstories? RUMI. There is no doubt that RUMI was the main character of the movie, far more than her friends ZOEY and MIRA, since her past is something extremely important to the story of the film. Anyone who had the pleasure of watching K-Pop Demon Hunters without having any spoilers beforehand was certainly surprised by the revelation that RUMI is half human and half demon. Her mother, named Ryu Mi-young, was a hunter just like her, while her father was a demon with whom Ryu Mi-young had a romance. Their relationship was something extremely forbidden, since they were supposed to be mortal enemies. Not to mention that demons are considered naturally evil beings, and no hunter besides RUMI's mother believed that one of them could be good. Unfortunately, RUMI's father mysteriously disappeared, and her mother passed away. The reason for her death was also not stated in the movie, but a Netflix press release detailing the cast and characters of the film mentioned that she died during RUMI's childbirth. This makes sense when we stop to think about it, since human women were not made to have babies with demons. Because of this tragedy, RUMI was raised by her mother's friend, Seline. She was also a hunter and trained RUMI from childhood to follow the family legacy. Seline also taught RUMI to hide and reject her demonic nature, which caused RUMI to grow up ashamed of that side of herself. Pretty heavy, right? But RUMI isn't the only one who suffered a lot. We're going to tell you everything about the dark past of each Huntrix girl. Stay tuned because another awesome Cinewave is already on. ZOEY. ZOEY is a favorite among many fans because of her cute personality, but the truth is that even she didn't escape going through dark and traumatic situations. This isn't talked about in the movie because it isn't the focus, but some details suggest that ZOEY has her own issues to deal with. In the song Golden, there is a scene that shows the idol being pulled in two directions, one connected to Korea and the other connected to the United States, showing that at some point she lived in America and felt torn between the two countries, ultimately choosing Korea to pursue her idol career. The reason behind this is that apparently her parents are of different nationalities, one being American and the other being Korean. Some fans theorize that her parents are divorced, which makes perfect sense with ZOEY's feeling of being divided. With each of her parents living in a different country and competing for her attention, it's normal to feel suffocated. This would explain why she has such a strong fear of disapproval, something that is even mentioned by Dr. Han in the movie. ZOEY most likely feels that she was responsible for her parents' divorce, which probably isn't true, but it's something many people with divorced parents go through. Another sign of this divorce-related trauma can be noticed during the argument that MIRA has with RUMI. ZOEY becomes very uncomfortable when she sees her two friends fighting and doesn't seem sure which side to take, as if she were reliving all the times she saw her parents arguing. Another theory surrounding ZOEY's problems is that these traumas caused her to develop eating disorders, which in turn led her to develop diabetes. If that's the case, that black bag tied to her arm would actually be an insulin pouch, which is used to treat diabetes. MIRA. Just like ZOEY and RUMI, MIRA also has family issues that are highlighted in the Golden music video, where we see that she was always considered a problematic child who didn't fit in with her family due to her more rebellious nature. Apparently, her family was more conservative and did not support MIRA's decision to become an idol, which resulted in her distancing herself from them. However, MIRA's story doesn't end there. There are small hints that her past may be even darker. For example, no one in her family has the same hair color as her. Of course, she could have dyed her hair, but this also raises the possibility that they are not MIRA's biological relatives, but rather an adoptive family. MIRA shows a very strong hatred toward demons throughout the movie. Could it be that her biological family had their lives taken by them and that MIRA was then adopted by a family with better financial conditions? In that case, her lack of connection with her new relatives could be a consequence of MIRA's trauma and the difficulty of adapting to a completely different lifestyle. There is another very small detail in this scene from the music video that could change everything we know about the character. The scene ends with MIRA pushing her family away, but anyone paying close attention will notice that only her parents were pushed. Her brother had already mysteriously disappeared before she pushed them. Some people believe this is an indication that her brother died, perhaps even having been a victim of a demon, which would be yet another motivation for MIRA to decide to become a demon hunter. If that's the case, the inevitable sequel to K-Pop Demon Hunters will have to explore MIRA's tragic past even more more and show what happened to her brother. Imagine if he had been turned into a demon by GUIMA. If you would also like to see more about MIRA's past in K-pop Demon Hunters 2, comment down below, #MIRA. Jinu. It's impossible to talk about a human being corrupted and turning into a demon without remembering Jinu. Just as RUMI was the Huntrix girl whose past was explored the most, Jinu was the member of the ZOEY boys with the most depth and importance. I mean, he is the only member of the ZOEY boys who really had any spotlight, because the others, unfortunately, were not explored very well. Because of that, we know that Jinu's story began long before any of us were born, since he was alive during the Joseon period, about 400 years ago. At that time, he lived in extreme poverty with his mother and his younger sister and played the lute on the streets to earn a little money, but that was far from enough to support his family. At some point, GUIMA, the king of the demon world, appeared and offered Jinu a pact. In this way, he received an incredible singing ability in exchange for his soul. Because of his new talent, Jinu was chosen to live in the Korean royal palace. But the problem was that his mother and his sister could not be taken with him. That's when Jinu realized that the pact he made was only meant for him to escape poverty, not his family. Even knowing this, Jinu accepted living in the palace and abandoning his family. That choice condemned them, since he was the family's only source of income. Life in the palace was much better than poverty, but the guilt and shame over the decision he made began to take over Jinu, to the point where he slowly started developing demonic marks and hearing GUIMA's voice. Over time, the curse was completed, and Jinu turned into a full demon, exactly as GUIMA had planned. It's good to know that after 4 centuries, Jinu managed to redeem himself and help RUMI defeat the demons. Seline. When RUMI Young passed away, Seline began taking care of her daughter, RUMI, as if she were her own child. She was part of the Sunlight Sisters alongside RUMI Young, working as an idol demon hunter during the 1990s. Because of that, she trained RUMI to become part of the next generation of hunters. Seline never approved of her adopted daughter's demonic heritage and taught her to hide her marks, never allowing her to tell anyone about it, not even ZOEY and MIRA. As we've already mentioned, this caused RUMI to develop a lot of insecurity. But Seline didn't do this on purpose. She truly only wanted what was best for the girl and believed that her marks would disappear once the Golden Hunmoon was created, since the barrier is meant to expel all demons from Earth. However, her past could have been much worse if a certain scene hadn't been removed from the movie. That's because there is a discarded flashback that would have shown that Seline was responsible for taking RUMI Young's life. Her intention was to kill RUMI's demon father, but RUMI Young would have stepped in front of him to save him, dying in the process. This would have made Seline a truly detestable character. However, an artist who participated in the development of the film explained that this idea was completely abandoned from the storyline. In other words, the scene was not only cut from the movie, but it also never happened in the story, most likely to make Seline less hated by the audience. Mystery. Yes, Jinu is the member of the ZOEY boys who received the most spotlight, but the other idols in the group also have their own small pieces of story that fans can piece together. One of the ones that stands out the most is Mystery, which makes a lot of sense, since he was created to be someone mysterious. You may not have noticed it, but the ZOEY boys represent different types of negative aspects that exist in the K-pop industry. In Mystery's case, he is a critique of the lack of privacy that idols live with. Some believe that, before becoming a demon, he was an idol who had his personal information exposed and made a pact so that everyone would forget about him, thus becoming a true mystery. There is an even more sinister theory that says Mystery is actually Mira's brother, who apparently disappeared or died. This is because, if we pay close attention, we'll notice that the earrings the demon wears are the same ones worn by Meera. In addition, when ZOEY is admiring posters of Mystery, Meera appears irritated and rips the images off the wall. It would be extraordinary if the next movie confirmed this connection between Meera and Mystery. So, have you clicked subscribe yet? If not, do it now, and stay tuned with us in every video. Romance. Romance is another member of the ZOEY boys who may have had a sad past connected to the darker side of K-pop. His absurdly loving and seductive personality seems to reference parasocial relationships, which are when fans start acting as if they were an idol's girlfriend, something that can turn into an obsession. Perhaps Romance was an idol who was being stalked by an obsessed fan and then made a pact with GUIMA to save himself from her. Abby. The criticism that Abby represents involves the exaggerated beauty standard standards that idols often have to follow. And even though we don't know his past, this raises a strong possibility that Abby is only this muscular because of his pact. He may have been an idol, or an aspiring idol, who struggled with self-esteem issues for not fitting into the beauty standard, making a pact to gain a defined body in exchange for becoming a demon in the service of Guima. Baby. Meanwhile, Baby represents the infantilization that many idols go through. Most K-pop artists are young adults, but even so, many fans treat them as if they were cute and innocent babies. So much so that some idols receive criticism when they do things considered adult, such as getting tattoos. Some idols suffer from this more than others, especially when the agency they work for decides to sell their image as that of a more childish person. Baby takes this quite literally, wearing very childish clothes and even speaking goo goo gaga. It's possible that he already went through this infantilization before becoming a demon, since Baby seems tired of maintaining this role when he can finally act like himself.
This was just the beginning, because there are 2 more super fun videos on the screen. Click and keep going with us!